Welcome to this short tutorial. We will be talking about transport trip data sheet. So basically when you have different modes of transport that are not road, where you can usually use straight line distances or straight line plus a wiggle factor or even actual road distances, because they don't accurately describe the time taken for your trip or the actual distance traveled, you will like to input this manually. For example, if you had modes of transport such as air freight, train, or even ships, you want to be able to have this transport trip data sheet. So to include this sheet, you must go to the configuration wizard in Data Navigator on step 9 and switch on do you want to provide distance duration data as input. In this case, you see I have all three options switched on, which means some of the distance I want them to be calculated via straight line plus a wiggle factor. Some of the distances I am asking location IQ to retrieve the actual road distances. And like you saw, some of the distances I want to be able to provide the distance and or duration myself. So once you've switched all of those on, you have saved your new configuration, downloaded your dataset, you will be able to see this transport trip data sheet. So how do we fill it? So basically here you have the mode of transport in column A. You also have from location to location, and you have the two columns of distance and duration. It is important to understand that you don't necessarily need to fill up all of the distance and duration. You can, for example, in some cases, only fill in the distance or only fill in the duration. In this case, we have filled in both of them. So what you want to make sure in this step is that all of these modes of transport and from and to, which is the whole transportation lane, are actually included in your transport cost data. So in this case, if you, let's just go back to transport trip data, we are setting up inbound finished good air mode of transport that goes from this finished good locations to the COG Munich CDC. So let's take a look at how we have set that lane up in our transport cost data. So in our transport cost data, we look at the inbound finished good air, and we see that it's shipping solar panels from finished good locations to CDC COG. So in addition, we have the available column, and you see we have got no retrieve distance in this case, or in the primary train either. In all the others we do have. And then we have all of the information we want to include. So we have the average drop size for this lane, and we have also the cost. So in this case, we have a fixed cost per trip because it's in air freight. So basically, we're saying that this lane, we're describing it in this transport trip data in two lines, one from Antalya finished good and the other one from Krems finished good. And we have set up the distance and the duration as well. So just remember that you can do this with any sort of transport, but also remember that in this case, because we have group of locations from and to, just make sure that it is that the lanes you write are included in all of your locations of your group. So we have the finished good location group, and in location relation, we're going to see that the finished good location group only contains those two locations, and that is why we have two lines on the trip. So now we want to see how this looks like in the app. So let's go to the app. So in network design, what we see when we do that manual input is when we go here in the workflow to trip data, we're going to see exactly the information that we have input. So we see that from Antalya finished good to COG Munich, the distance, obviously for the 4 periods, we actually have here a period grouping. Therefore, we can see that in the transport cost, we have it as a period grouping. So it's just gonna expand into those 4 periods that contain our period group, but it's gonna be the same distance. Of course, you can decide in your transport cost data to select or to do the specific lane for each period if it's gonna have different costs or different distance and duration. So here we also see that the distance origin says user, which means we have inputted in our template. Whereas, for example, in this other case that has been retrieved from location IQ, it's going to tell us it was retrieved from location IQ. Another important thing that you have here is, apart from this average speeds, you see that the inputs that have been made by the user from the Excel template are in color blue, which means like in the rest of the app, everything in blue can be updated. So you can update it through here without going back to your Excel template. So basically, this is what I wanted to show you today. Hope it clears up any doubts.